Hi everyone, I hope you are having fun and learning a lot with us during the summit. Upcoming, we have a very important and interesting topic on the importance of soft skills in test automation. In this talk, we will explore the vital role of soft skills that play alongside with technical expertise in dynamic field of test automation. These skills empower testers to collaborate effectively and adapt to changes, thinking critically and offer valuable insights, ensuring the efficiency and effectiveness of testing efforts. Our speaker today, Larry Goddard, works as test automation architect at Oxford University Press. He is a seasoned professional with 2 decades of experience and creator of a famous open source project known as 𝐊𝐞𝐲. He actively mentors organizations like 𝐊𝐿TO Foundation and Black Girls in Tech. But before we move on, a few suggestions for all of our participants. Please encourage our speaker by putting emojis down below. And at the end of the session, we'll be taking up questions. So feel free to add those questions in the Q&A section on your right side. We may not be able to take all the questions, but don't worry. We have a Lambda test community thread, so where you can, we will be posting the answers to these questions as well. So now join me in welcoming Larry Goddard. Hi, Larry.
Thanks for having me here today, and I will try my best to see how I could impart a little bit of, I wouldn't use the word knowledge, but a little bit of expertise on the wider audience, so they could start using and they will understand the whole concept of that you need some soft skills as well in order to do this thing properly.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So as you can see, I was mentioned, and I will now take over this thing. So let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Where's my screen share? Just give me 1 second. Sparks, where's my screen share?
Larry, your screen is visible. Yeah.
My screen is visible?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wasn't seeing that. Anyway, okay. Yeah, not see. I thought that was going to be partly on the side of the screen so I could debate with them. So that's why I'm not getting.
Okay. Do you want to stop screen share and share again?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm just, please share again.
Share screen.
Yeah, your screen is.
There you go. All right, so sorry about that, everyone. So it's this area. So today I'm going to talk about the importance of soft skills in test automation. And thank you again to Spas for that great introduction. I just want to add a little bit that despite everything else that was said, I'm also the co-author of that book called Enhanced Test Automation in WebDriver IO. And it's there on the PACT website as well as Amazon. It's you can get it there. All right. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is this thing. Soft skills. Soft skills is one of those things that we live with. It's part of our day-to-day thing. Things we do on an everyday basis. Talking to people, going to meetings, listening, and thing, and how that end up, how that runs in, how that moves and goes along with what we do in testing is what I'm going to try to pass on to you guys today, and it's neat. So here we are. What do you think that is? So you see, I have this nice little dabbling there, and see people meeting and talking and thing, and that brings us to communication skills. And I think our communication skills are one of the most important ones when coming to how we do things. Because as we do test automation, we have to be able to communicate with the developers, the product managers, and all other members of the team, because that is how we define our test cases. That's how we define, we report bugs, and we just discuss the results and things like that. So the whole concept is that everything we do on a day-to-day basis is what we need, is what is needed and required to become a really good QA. And communication is the #1 skill. Because if you can't talk to your developers and you can't have conversations with your product managers or any other member of your actual team, then that's where you'll find issues that we can't really deal with per se. And that is something that we need to and really pay a lot of attention to. How we talk to people, how we interact with them, and how we try to discuss things. I know a lot of us are introverts. A lot of us are introverts. Talking to people is a big thing, and to help with that is where I like to say, we take it in small stages. You talk to one person on the team, and you develop a very good relationship with them. You develop a very good relationship with them, so it allows you to then interact with that one person. And once you could do it with one person, then you find dealing with everybody else becomes, as I like to say, a walk in the park, right? And to this end, that's why I choose to use communication skills as the most important one of all when coming to it. Now, besides just talking, communication comes also in the form of documentation, where some of us, we're not really good at talking, but we could really write. So we could send really good emails. We could write a good documentation on something. All that is communicating. You don't necessarily have to overly try to talk. It's all that is part of what it is. So you have what we call, and like you see on the slide, it's called team collaboration, where you meet up with everybody and all have a laugh, or go for a beer together, or have lunch together, and all that helps especially when it comes to defining your test cases and reporting bugs, because now you have this communication going on where you feel easy, and it's very easy to talk to the person next to you. It might be a developer, it might be a product manager, it might be the test lead, it might be the dev lead, and things like that. So that's why we do this. And like I say, so the other thing is you can document things. And just how you would write an email, or you would write send a message to somebody, write a letter and everything, it's the same thing. When coming to test automation, what you do is you could write it. So you have clear and concise documentation of your test cases. Your test cases, your test plans, your reports, and all those beautiful things. So once we start to build that strong, attachment with each other, then everything falls into place. It just falls into place neatly and nicely. And then everybody, like the people like to say, end up on the same page. Everybody know what everybody's talking about. And who can talk? Type. Who can talk? Type. And it's the same thing. So as like I said, so in terms of skill sets, and there are a lot of them in skills, I think we should pay a lot more attention to our communication skill set more than any of the other ones that we will talk about today. All right. And then, I love these little things. So then we have problems, you have thinking, and you have solutions. And I think with that alone tells you we're talking about problem solving and critical thinking. And that in itself is a lot. So these are all soft skills that we have. We all have friends, family. Some of us have kids and things like that. And solving problems is one of these things that, you know, you get with, especially with kids, they want to fight for the toys and they want to, you know, they're doing all kind of things, you know, who get more food than who and why this one and mommy, and they go on and on and on. And to do that, these are skills that you just have by nature with you. And you have to think of creative ways, you know, of getting child A to play with child B, and then not to fight for the same toy at the same time, and teaching them sharing and things. And you have to come up with all these weird and wonderful ways to deal with them. So that skill set, that skill set in terms of automation and in terms of QA, you know, it's about looking and seeing what the product have, looking at the potential issues that could come up, and so then we, the QAs or testers as we may be, could then design testers that would cover a very massive range of scenarios, you know, and this is where the critical thinking part comes in, is about the edge cases. You know, it's about all these little edge cases that is not normal in the normal run of how the product is. But we as QAs, we'll always find these little, as we call them, these little edge cases, and or the unusual ones that, you know, that it's just there. And but people know the normal run-of-the-mill person don't think about it. And that leads us into the whole debugging part. You know, when we write these nice test cases and we have these edge cases and they're all there, all good and nice, and then things fail. You know, things fail. And that is where the problem-solving part comes into it. You know, children fighting, how are we going to solve that problem? They want to use the same toy at the same time, how are we going to solve that problem? And just exactly how you would bring this into being, that is exactly how you're going to deal with it from a QA point of view. Because it gives us invaluable ideas into identifying what the root cause of an issue, and also give us that level of how are we going to fix it, and we could come up with solutions. So now we could use the critical thinking to look at, you know, all the potential issues that could arise, and thinking about all the edge cases that we could think of, and, you know, how the user will interact with things. And, you know, and we all know users do some very strange things with products when they have it. But if they don't really build thing in for that. So that being said, like I say, it's all about you're using your problem solving bit to do your debugging. When your tests fail, how you're going to look at it, how to identify root causes and come up with solutions. Because a lot of times we as QAs, we find the problem, but we for ourselves does not pass on a solution to the problem, a proposed solution to the problem. You know, and that's one of the things I've think over the years, is that there will be bugs and there will be ways to fix it. But we as the QAs, we can also suggest ways in which things can be fixed. We could do that, you know, and yeah. So in saying that, so the whole thing now is another soft skill that we have is, as you see there, nice little guy. What is he doing? He's paying attention to details. You know, and that is the next thing. Attention to details is something that we have. We're walking down the road. We're looking at crossing the road. You know, you need to pay attention to the car that's coming from your left. If one coming from the right, we need to look at all these things that we do normally. You look at who's sitting next to you and who getting on and off the bus that we on and things like that. You know, just paying attention to what's going on around, as I like to say, you're paying attention to your surroundings. And with that, and people don't think about it, but that's a very, very good skill set, you know. And what it does is, in terms of, let's bring it now, so in terms of test automation and the whole QA process, you know, you have to, especially when you're writing a test, you have to be you need to write this test, and you have to very, methodical in creating this test case that will cover a particular scenario. And not just a particular scenario, but practically all the scenarios that you have that you would be dealing with. Because you think about it like this. If you write in a test case, and I will do a simple one, you have to log in. And you put in your username, but you forget to deal with the password, and you click the submit button, it will click an error. It's not going to work. It will be an incomplete test, and things like that. It will be incomplete. I mean, the fact that it's incomplete, it means we're not really, and that is where we're not really paying attention to what we're doing because we miss a step. And just a simple step, we missed this step. Yes, it's easily rectified, but think about you writing 10 test cases per day. Yeah, and you check, and people do things in different ways. So, and when you run it, then you realize, oh my gosh, I missed a couple of steps here or a couple of steps there. That will throw a spanner in the works. Big spanner in the works. Yeah, so that's something you have to pay attention to. And then we have the whole thing about, this is one that people don't look at much, but I like to stick it in here for this reason. It's called empathy. And the thing about empathy in testing is that gives us the ability to work with different perspectives, of my perspective as well as the user perspective. And we empathize with the need that the user have, and that will give us an insight into how they think, and the way how they look at the whole product, and that will give us a sense of how we could best write the most effective test case possible for that situation. So it will help us create test cases that align with what the user experience is. Yeah, it's aligned with what the user experiences, and those two goes together hand in hand, because once we paying attention to the user experience and on how they would look at it, then we also paying attention to details in the whole general concept of things, you find it will work. It will work out. Things will be nice. It will be easy, and as we tag along, all right? So as you see, we're covering a lot of soft skills, things that you do every day, things that you know. Nothing hard. You don't have to think a lot about it. You don't have to try and figure out what it is, where it is, and things like that. It's just things that we do on a daily basis, things that we run, things that we think about, and things like that. There. And there's the next soft skill. I think we do a lot with this one too, and coming back to, especially where we have brothers and sisters and kids in some cases, and thing is about, we call it conflict resolution. The two kids fighting, they're fighting for a toy. How are we gonna, how we dealing with that? How do we, to say, look, stop this. We need to sort this out. And you get a lot of conflicts, especially, and one of my favorite is between the tester and the developer. And especially where you're saying there's a bug and the developer saying, no, there is not. And you saying, yes, there is. And he's saying, no, there is not. You're trying to show him and he's saying it's not. It's one of those, and that's where the whole conflict resolution comes in. You have to, the whole testing team, you have to decide and work together, the development team, and so somebody have to play peacemaker in between there. Somebody have to play peacemaker to say, look, we must be able to work and come to a common ground where, if we have an issue, how are we going to deal with it? Because at the end of the day, it's beneficial for both parties, and that's the only way things would really, really work. So the whole thing is, in terms of how a conflict resolution being a soft skills will help you, besides warring parties, it helps us to maintain a very productive and collaborative working environment. So then the developers begins to test the testers, to deal with the testers, and the testers be more comfortable dealing with the developers. All about team dynamics. It's all about team dynamics. So keeping the flow going, keeping everybody happy, making sure that we do things, let's say, I wouldn't say correctly, but in a nice, peaceful manner where everybody is happy at the end of the day, and the product becomes a better product because of that. Because now you can now go and tell the developer, look, although you're building this is what I've seen, and based on my experience as a tester, I think you should move this button to the right because it's going to be more based on the way people use things, and the way, from a user point of view, it will be better. Than they will not be saying, I'm building this, I'm the one who building this, this is what my vote, you can't tell me how to work. You will avoid things like that, and you get better collaboration going on between the members. Yeah. And then we have the skill of presenting. One of the skills that a lot of people have, but is very, very intimidated when coming to using it. Yeah, and it's of course your presentation skills. Everybody have it, but people get very intimidated when coming to actually having to use it. You say, oh, by the way, I wanted to go and talk to the product manager about something, and I want you to present what the QA is going to do for this particular product, and then everybody shuts down. And it's one of the things. It is one of the things that is very, very there and in the open when coming to presenting. It's one of the things. And now if you take that skill and you bring it into the whole QA automation world, you're talking about reporting, specifically reporting. And I'm saying specifically reporting because besides, you do a lot of different presentations for things. But one of the things is a lot of the higher uppers, as we call them, the stakeholders, they like the whole thing is about graphs and about this how it looks and with your presentation skills, you'll be able to effectively present and convey. Most importantly, you'll be able to convey the significance of your test finding and recommendations, very, very clear to the stakeholders. It will be so the whole thing is when I come into present it, so now you'll be able to pass reports, you'll be able to stand up in the scrum and give a proper presentation of what took place, of what took place, what has taken place, where you guys are at in the particular project and how things going. So both of them together, conflict resolution and your presentation skills, it works good. One, you keep them from fighting, and one and the other one is where you're saying to them, oh, by the way, because of this big fight they had yesterday, this is the result of what came out of the fight after we set up as a group and we trash it out. So now we working more effectively, and here you are as a report. This is where the product is going. This is where we are. This is where we reach. This is how we're going to deal with everything else thereafter. Yeah. And why is he like that? He's all broken up. But how do you have to ask the question, wait a minute, if I'm injured, and this might be, it sounds strange, but if I'm injured and I still have to work, how am I going to do this? You know what you need to do? You have to adapt. And it's all about your adaptability. You get to work on in this case, it's an accident, so you get to work on your crutches, because you still have to work, you're not dying. So, how do you do it? So now you have to learn to adapt yourself to the way you get your breakfast in the morning, the way you have to start to adapt to leaving home a little earlier because it takes you a little longer to go there to get the bus or the train or however it is you're taking, right? in the terms, if you bring that into the term and into the world of test automation, we're now looking at how, especially in this whole agile development environment that we work in today, requirements just got changed very quick. It changes a lot, it changes frequently, and we need to be able to adapt quickly to those changes so we'll be able to modify our test scripts accordingly. And that is one of the things. So we have this whole adaptability thing going on, and we need to be able to say, look, we're writing the test already, we're in the middle of writing a test case. All of a sudden, the product manager come up and say, oh, by the way, we're making a change to X because based on some thing they had yesterday, they decided to do this. You're already halfway through writing this test case. What you have to do is you now have to have the ability to adjust that test case to suit the new thing. Instead of just trashing the whole thing, you must be able to, and that's where your adaptability is. You adapt to it, make all the little changes, maybe a little thing, but you should be able to make changes by tweaking here and there and getting it to work to its all intent and purpose. All right. And so those are the things that another one is because soft skills is that would help you, in changing requirements. It's easy to make changes. They make changes a lot, and we just have to figure out how well we can adapt to such a change. There we go. Cover the clock. It's called. It's how about how we manage our time. It's how we manage our time. And time management is one of them things that, and for people who on here who married or know about time management, well, we say, darling, hurry up, we need to go to the show for 10 o'clock, and at 5 to 10, you dress and waiting, and she's still applying the makeup and saying, just give me a minute, and adjusting the hairstyle, and we're trying to figure out, how it works. But like I say, people here who have girlfriends and go out is one of them things that we deal with. It's about time management. How do we manage time? So what we normally do is we tell the girlfriend, husband, wife, as the case may be, because it's vice versa. Not all time the ladies is be the ones who behind, is that we need to leave at 8. So what we tell them is, oh, we'll be leaving at 7 o'clock. And so we put that in there so that so by the time 7:30 they're now finished, but we're still on time. It's about how we deal with the whole thing, and that and with time management in the whole QA space, it's about how we use that so we know how to prioritize, how, especially when we have multiple test cases, how we prioritize that, how we, what we automate first, what we put on the back burner for a bit, and then we could automate later on in the process, maybe in the next sprint or something. But that is where the time management skills bring us. It's very, very important. Is where we do how we prioritize. There you go. How we prioritize the whole dealing with test cases, put them in there, get the importance, put it, the pack of one against the other, and things like that. So we do this whole prioritization in using our test management skill, to do that. So, and like I say, it's one of them things. So one, we can adapt to change, and then although we adapting to change, we also have to have the ability to work under some time constraints and how we deal with those time constraints. And we pick up all that again, like I say, from our daily bits and pieces with what goes on where and how we get on with things and how we manage the other thing. And for me, based on everything that we have said, based on all that we have said so far, it's all about using what we do on a daily basis to augment and improve on our testing ability. And once we do that, and in saying that, to push the boat out a little further, is especially, and I'll bring a test case in this thing. All websites, all of them, practically, well, let me rephrase that. Yes, all websites have a menu. All of them have menus. And a lot of those menus have drop-down state. And it's how we deal with these things that is help us, becomes better. Yes, what we could do is we could say, right, we only want to click on, I don't know, the create button from that drop-down. So what we will do, we will find the element for the create button, and we're going to use that. Bam, our test is done. Yeah, it is. No argument with that. But what about if they move the create button from where it is in the list? Then the test is going to break. Because it's not the same spot anymore. It might be the ID. Yes, it might be on IDs. But there are a lot of different ways you can do it. But the test will break if they move it out of the wholesale. So one of the things I just tell people is when coming to menus, what you should do is take the entire menu. Take the entire menu and figure out where all the children is from that menu. So the menus it have its top priority, and then it have all the children and sub-children. You grab the priority one. And that means no matter where in that menu they put whatever it is you're clicking, it will never fail. Because you're saying, here is my menu, and if any of these children or children of children equals to create, click it. The test will never fail. No matter what they do with that menu. Your test will only fail if they remove that thing from the menu completely. It will come back and tell you, nope, doesn't exist. And that's one of the things that I like to think. And this is one of the skills that it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. It's about leadership. Your leadership and mentoring. Leadership and mentoring. As somebody who mentor a lot of people, and is very up where you become head of the whole team or the department, as the case may be. You have a lot of things to do with the engineers and all the junior people below you. And that is, ensuring that their expertise level raised too. Because if they're at the same level, then as you go along, things not going to work. It's going to fall apart from the bottom. And a lot of bits and pieces may just, it just doesn't be there. So one of the things I like to do is use my mentoring ability, to mentor all the junior people below me, all of them, and share my expertise with them so that they will know what I know. And in doing that, it's a two-way street. And a lot of people lose the concept of mentoring. And here is that I don't just mentor you. The thing is, I also learn from you. So, because when I giving you my expertise, this is what I have in my psyche, but you're a new kid on the block. So you seeing things completely different to how I was seeing it. So now you could say, oh yeah, but if you do X, Y, and Z, it might be faster than if you're going this route that you're taking. And the whole thing about mentoring and leading is your ability to, one, understand, and two, to take up on what your mentor is saying to you, or your mentee, is saying to you. So in the world of test automation, it's about what the people in your team saying. It's not just what you say being the leader, it's what they say too. It says a lot. And it have a lot to do with looking at their ideas, knowing that their ideas have some value to it, and there will always be value because we can never stop learning. And that is what is that is what fosters the whole culture of continuous learning and skills development within your team. Because one, they're trying to get to your level, and two, you learning about what they know in trying to get to your level. So it's a two-way street. It's not just one way. And a really good leader is one who not only leads, but one who could follow. If you cannot follow, you will never be a good leader. It might sound strange, but that's the truth. Because if you cannot follow, you will never ever make a good leader. And that's something that we need to take, we need to really take up in ourselves with, with the whole concept of what it is. And to me, in the whole world, and that brings us to just the cultural and the thing for the team. But what it also does is that it makes us find new ways of doing the old things. And we all know right now, AI is the whole talk of the town. It is what's happening. It is what's going on. And we can't get away from that. It's just part of our life in practically literally everything we're doing, right? And for me, like I like to tell people, artificial intelligence is just machine learning rebranded, right? And it is what it is. And it allows us now, because these newer people that are coming in, one, they're younger, two, they are in an era where AI is what, it come like they come into an era where AI is new to us, but that is what they know. It is not new to them. It's something new to us, but it's not new to them per se, because they're born within that whole thing. If you start to tell them about a rotary dial phone, and I'm sure there are a lot of people on this, on a lot of people here who knows nothing about a rotary dial phone, so and it's just what it is, how they do it. So, and I think being a leader, despite just knowledge sharing, it also look at how we upskill our team members, upskill the people out there, point them through different routes, because not everybody learn the same way. So point them through different routes in getting to the same place. Yeah, and I said, so what I think that might look a very strange thing. So what it is at the end of the day, a lot of our soft skills will complement or augment our technical skills. As like I just explained through all the slides there. That is where it does. And I would like to say that again, communication is the major one. How we communicate, how we deal, and how we talk with the other people. That's the major one in its sense. It enables us as a team to work more effectively together. It allows us to adapt to the different circumstances. It also gives us the ability to use the whole critical thinking part, which in turn will provide some very, very valuable insights into whatever the product is and whatever it is we doing. Because one thing is about about test automation is how the whole world of test automation is going. It evolves a lot. When I now started, test automation was a lot of commercial tools, and you would write, it was a thing. And then as the years roll on, people started realizing, wait a minute, I could do this for myself, and I could create this, and a lot of things get created over the years. So it's evolving, and now reached a point where you have AI involved, where we can now, it takes away a lot of it's me sitting down trying to figure out, how do I do this? But as in the earlier shop from Daniel, not Anita thing, from Daniel, not, you're seeing it. So the idea here is it evolves, it's effective, it's very effective, and it cannot be overstated. So that's it. So now, are there any questions that I would then now take questions, and we have some times that we will see for answering them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry, for talking about soft skills. This is one of the most overlooked topic and most important topic every testers, even every software developer should know about. Before jumping into the Q&A session, we have a very exciting giveaway for all of you. So as Larry mentioned, he is author of one of the most bestseller book on WebDriver.io named Enhanced Test Automation with WebDriver.io. To win a signed copy of the book, make sure that you are subscribing to Larry's YouTube channel, as well as sharing your best takeaways from this session on LinkedIn, tagging Larry and Amnetist, and you will stand a chance to win a signed copy from Larry about his book. We have shared the YouTube channel link down below. And quickly jumping into Q&A session. Picking up the very first question, it is asked by Sninda. What soft skills do you believe are most crucial for test automation professionals?
Like I think, like I said earlier on, I know this might be a question I came on after, but for me, I think the most crucial one is communication. Because despite all you might have the leadership, you might be a very good critical thinker, and all the other ones that we talk about today. But if you cannot communicate that on to your team members, the different people that is involved in that particular project, then none of them would really worth anything in the sense. And that is whether you talk, physically talking to people like we're talking now, or you're putting that down in writing and send it via email. And that's why I started off and I choose communication as the number one, and then I just filter in the rest. Because if you don't have that communication skill, none of it would work, as the people say, will work the paper it was written on. Hope that helps.
Definitely. Thank you, Larry. The next question is, do you recommend any exercises to help improve critical thinking skills?
Oh, I love that question. That's a brilliant question, actually. Yeah, I'll answer it like this. I don't know of any particular exercises to do it, me personally, but I know what you could do is you could I think for what works for me is I will create a scenario. I will create the environment and where you now have to really think critically. You actually have to start putting your thinking hat on and start thinking, oh, how do I, wait a minute, if I use, wait, no, that wouldn't work. And I think that's one of the things. I think you have to create, by you creating the scenario, I think it will help a lot in terms of how your team work. And then you could make the scenario more difficult and more intricate. So it'll have them, really getting it in the brain in order to be thinking out of ways to, as we say, solve that same problem. Just make it intricate and add stuff to it. It can be weird, it can be completely out of this world the way you're doing it, but at least you'll have them thinking, for want of a better word, outside of the box. Yeah.
Thank you, Larry. One more question. Where is the line between employing soft skills and escalating concerns?
I think the answer, I think it doesn't have a line, and I'll say it like this. I don't think there's a line in itself, but what I think is the way you deal with it. You employ your soft skills, and like I said earlier on in one of the slides is, you look at, wait a minute, yes, I have a bug, I'm repairing it in terms. Yes, I have a bug, and I'm not just going to report the bug. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a solution to fixing this. So I wouldn't say, a big line, a line there. And also, that also goes to how you deal with your developer. And I think this is one of the ones that is everybody think. I'm a tester, he's a developer. I say yes, he say no, that kind of thing. That's for everybody. And if you use yourselves to really, again, communicate with this developer and really integrate with them to do things, then you whatever it is, it wouldn't be a concern anymore. It will not just become, okay, I can now talk directly to the developer than having to go through the team lead to get to the developer. You can now talk directly to them. So I think we should remove the whole, there's a line in the sand between what one is, and for us is what the developers and them is doing, what we the QAs do. and we're moving away from throwing the product over the fence now for us to get it tested, and then we throw it back over and say we finished. I think if we remove that line, now we have the developer developing and the QA talking to the developer while they're developing. So that whole thing just goes.
Thank you so much. I know there are more interesting questions in the Q&A section. Sorry, we are a bit short on time, but make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, Lambda Test community thread, where we will answer all the questions. We will also share the questions with Larry so that he can answer them as well. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Thank you, Larry, for talking about a very interesting and important topic. You can make sure you follow Larry on his LinkedIn and as well as his YouTube channel. You can connect with him, ask directly if you are facing any issues. And thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and for the general audience, thank you so much for making this possible. And as I think I heard somebody say earlier on, you just as I am a Spartan and we are doing this, you could join and become a Spartan yourself. So who knows, next year you could be doing what I am doing. And you could follow me, and I will make my slides available for all who need it. All who needs it, just send out a message on the board and we'll make it available. And thanks again, guys, for having me. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.